Hello.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right.
Right. You hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. It's good. Well, first of all, thank you for joining this interview.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
I was really looking forward to do that. Um, I may like to start with maybe a slightly dumb question, but I'm interested in what can you elaborate on this. And after graduating, while hiking, you had a lot of jobs.
Yeah,
You had many jobs
yeah.
while you travel in the country.
hmm
And I was wondering, in which aspects is being a writer clearly another job, since it's maybe the only stable one you seem to have had.
I'm not sure what is the question.
Um, like
Is being the writer the only stable job?
it's like in which aspects being a writer
hmm
is most of a job than some kind of uh, art crafting, or it's maybe the other way.
I mean, all those other jobs were just for money, so that I could have the time to write. Uh, every job, whether it was dishwasher or day labor or truck driver or college professor, they were all to me a means to have money and time to write. So I always thought that I would just put literature first. I would put writing first, and uh, so I would not say it's the most stable job,
Okay.
but it's something that I rely on uh, for my own perhaps mental stability.
Okay. Okay, so the principal goal in your life was to be a writer, maybe.
hmm
Okay.
I mean, I like to write. I wanted to be an actor. I
Mm.
wanted to be a painter, artist. I want to be a photographer, but those either were expensive,
Mm.
or you know, or you have to be in a certain place. But writing was cheap. It's free.
Yeah.
It's portable. It takes up no space. You can always get paper and pencil, really, literally for free. People will give you a pen and paper.
In any
So,
in any place.
and it was also something that I could do longer, longer periods of time without being too tired.
Okay, so
Mhm.
you first have to have a material base to do that. So, but even as a writer, you have a routine and a schedule and
Yeah,
a daily mission. So, in that aspect, which kind of writer you are? How is a writing day for you? Are you more as an spontaneous writer? Do you have a method? Um, it depends of the day and your emotional state.
I mean, I think I understand what you mean. I try to write within 30 or 40 minutes of waking up in the morning.
Okay.
I drink coffee, a, a quadruple espresso. Uh, that wake me up. And I believe that my mind is just fresher. It's more rested. My body and my mind is more rested, and nothing has interfered with my mood. Maybe a bad dream or something, but so that's what I try to do, and I've tried to do for like over 30 years. It's just get up, get the coffee, and write, and then write as long as I can until I'm hungry or tired or need a break, and that works for me. Sometimes I'll stop and take a walk. If I get too anxious, I'll take like a half mile or a 1 mile really fast walk, and then come back and go back after it. But I don't really plan anything ahead, and the work becomes very personal, but very accidental.
Okay.
It's I'm not trying to write on a personal level, but it just happens because I also write in a journal every day, and I believe that that's very helpful for me. Sometimes too much in the journal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I read that you had a journal since you were 10 years old, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And,
that's a lot
and
of writing.
they're very boring, and there's no change. They're always the same. Woke up, don't feel good, want to go back to bed. Have to do this, have to do that, right? Yeah, they're the most boring journals in the world.
Okay, but I I I think that they are important too, maybe. You said just now that you got a little anxious while you write. Is that
Well,
it's
I get anxious in general.
oh
I have difficulties with anxiety and depression. So if I feel if I feel the anxiety too much, then I'll walk to just burn it off. But drinking coffee and then trying to just sit and put my mind into on a page or into a computer screen or something, it will increase a certain pressure and a certain anxiety. So
yeah
it's just,
it's
you probably know what I'm talking about.
yeah. I totally got it. I feel anxious too, sometimes while writing. And I also read that you wrote some scripts for Hollywood,
Yeah.
and while recently you said that you clearly don't write for money, um, and I bit of read that you didn't enjoy it very much, the Hollywood experience. So why do you write?
For Hollywood or in general?
No, in general, about from Hollywood. That's a good question. Also, why do you
I
can't?
mean, the reason I wrote for Hollywood is very simple. I have two sons,
Okay,
you know,
yeah.
and they wanted to go to college. They wanted to, when they were 18, leave home and go to college. And I didn't have any money.
Mhm. Yeah.
I had very little money. So I wrote screenplays in order to pay for them to go to college. And they did. I was lucky. It worked out. They graduated from college, both of them, and I quit writing them. So in that regard, that was exclusively motivated by a need for money, a very real need, not for myself, not for a big house or a big car or a watch or any of that kind of bullshit, but like for my sons, you know.
Yeah, for the people you love.
Yeah. And then the rest of the time, why I write, I really don't know.
Hmm.
You know, I truly, if I write, in the morning, I feel better about myself later in the day.
Right.
And I think writing makes me a better person, a better father, a better friend, a better neighbor, a better citizen. If I don't write, I start to question, what is my purpose? Like, why am I here? Why am I alive? What is the reason to be? And so I think writing, I know this may sound crazy,
No, go on.
but writing gives me a kind of reason to be alive in the world, because otherwise I'm not sure what the point of life is, of existence, right? It's really, you sleep a third of the time.
Mhm.
You have to eat, which is a daily pressure and relentless. And you have to then find some meaning in life. And for me, it's writing. I think for other people, maybe it's religion, or it's deep family connection, or a job, you know, or a hobby, or sports. For me, I think that's why I write. I'm trying to be as honest as possible.
No, right. It's clear. It's your purpose in life, clearly. And you are also a teacher. I
I don't teach anymore. I used to teach.
Oh, you don't teach anymore. But teaching maybe had an impact in your writing and your life.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it affected the writing. Um, there was an external structure that for a while was helpful and good for me. When my sons left home, then I was not around young people anymore, because I was around them and their friends. And so I think teaching, one of the things I liked was being around young minds, young people who wanted to learn, who were excited. And I think that was helpful to me as a person.
Okay.
I'm not sure if teaching affected my work at all.
Okay. It's just impacted in a personal way.
More personal, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know, and if you, in the United States, if you teach, they give you insurance.
Oh.
So that was helpful. You know, I could finally go to the dentist, get my glasses, get hearing aids, you know, see a doctor.
Yeah, you just got away on continue having the money you need. And what's the meaning of earning some distinctions or awards? Not only for a writer, maybe for you.
I'm not sure I understood what you meant. What now?
What's the meaning, if it's anyone of earning some distinctions or awards or prizes?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, it can make you feel good for the moment.
Okay.
Well, there's that. That's not bad. You know, anything to feel good for the moment is good. And it may attract other readers, you know. And I think that's really what any writer wants. A writer wants to be read,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
so any attention given to the work has the chance to produce more readers. Those would be, to me, those are the best things, the best parts of it. The danger, of course, I think, is if a writer starts believing too much in the value of attention or rewards or awards or that kind of thing. Like that seems, I try to be careful about that. Like, I'm lucky and that's good, but I try to ignore, especially when I write.
So it's important to stay humble.
Well, I don't know if it's important to stay humble. I think I just am. I think it's part of where I'm from and how I live, and it's not like an effort. I'm not like saying, "Oh, I just would prefer to." That sort of thing is fickle. It's by that I mean it's arbitrary. It can go either way. You know. And being popular, do you want to be a popular politician? No, because then you get voted out. You'll always, it's something that, but so many people believe in the importance of popularity or being trendy so I do my best to just set it aside. I'm grateful for it. Any attention, that the book has got, like talking to you. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I know that I'm lucky, but I also don't want it to affect how I see myself and my relationship with the work.
Great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally got it.
Yeah.
Then a lot of your writing and your sceneries maybe show a concern for the wrecking of social bonds and how people survive during the lowest point of the economic system.
Mhm.
And it also seems as you really love those characters. You love your origins, and you feel them solitude and kind of isolation maybe. And what started this selection? It's something that you usually want to tell the readers, or it's just an echo of your experiences?
I don't know. Part of it is, I mean, everything I write almost everything is set where I grew up,
Yeah.
which is in the mountains in a very remote part of the U.S. where there's no jobs and there's no economic opportunity, right? But I didn't know that when I was a child.
Mm.
It was home, and it was beautiful, and it had all these beautiful trees and beautiful flowers and leaves and creeks and deer and squirrel and all these animals, and we walked everywhere to get, people didn't have, some people had cars, and not every family did, but we just would walk through the woods to see our friends. And I did not I thought that was the way all of the world was.
Yeah.
And then I left at 19 and learned that was not the way everywhere else in this country is, and that it was extremely unusual, and I missed it. And so I think that's part of it, is like when I write about where I'm from and the people that like you said, I mean, I love the people. I love the land. it's a way for me to go home again every day in my head to a place where there really isn't a place. I could not actually physically go back there now,
Yeah.
uh, but I can in my mind. So I think that's part of it. There's also uh, there has not been many writers from that part of the country ever, ever. And I mean, the U.S. is a young country, of course, but you know, writers have come from all kinds of other places, mainly the cities: California, New York, Chicago, right?
The coast.
LA, what?
The coast.
The coasts, and not the center, and not the woods. And then the West is very popular because there's the myth of the cowboy and all that. And so I thought it was important to try to present this culture that I loved that had not been portrayed in literature before.
Right. And you also battle a lot with stereotypes
Yeah,
in
yeah.
well, the reader's vision, maybe other I don't know if critics or what, but um, I read a short story of yours. I think it was called Sawdust, maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, and well, it's about a young man that wants to finish high school.
Right.
Um, I was thinking about um, how do you cope with the phrase "nobody is a prophet in his land." Um, it's like you have this vision um, that it's I don't know if to say if it's not usual, but you said now that there are not many writers
No.
from Kentucky. Um, how do you how do you feel about it? You went out your hometown and then when you came back, you started like um, describing it and saving their their population.
I moved back 4 times. I left and returned, I think 4 times. 3 for sure, 1 short. And um, I mean, I wanted to be there because I love the land, but um, there's, in one way, there was no place for me. Education is not valued. There's no bookstores. There was no, I see a guitar there behind you. There's no music stores. There's no record stores. There was no art galleries or anything like that. And these were things I was very interested in and still am. I mean, I still, those are my interests. So going back home was always bittersweet. Like, yes, here's this beautiful land, here's all these flowers and birds, here's a few old friends that I loved from childhood, but it wasn't quite enough. It just, like, I still wanted more, and then at a certain point I just could not. I couldn't keep doing that. I had kids. I needed money. I needed to work more steady, uh, um, and then I had to recognize and accept that I, I could not return to a place that I loved, except in my imagination.
Okay. Okay. So that's the way the world had an impact in your writing that you said. And I don't remember if it was in an interview or I was just reading some things you wrote. I don't remember if it was in an interview or in a memory uh,
Mhm.
essay. Uh, but how did the world impacted in your had an impact in your writing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I can tell you that. I'm sure it had a huge impact. Everything I ever read, every experience, every person I talked to, but uh, the world impacted my writing mainly by I didn't fit into the world
Mm.
ever, no matter where I went, and I lived a lot of places: New York, California, Boston, Florida, New Mexico, Arizona, Iowa. I mean, I just now Mississippi. Uh, I never quite was felt like I was part of any of these worlds, these places, but so that sort of that not fitting in to essentially traditional, conventional, middle class American values pushed me into writing about where I was from. So the impact on my writing that the world had was just exposure to the world and realizing I don't I don't fit into this world, and I don't really want to.
Okay, that's important. Right. Um, you started just some years or months ago sharing your photography
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Instagram,
yes.
and I was watching it. I really like it. I really
Thank you.
like it. And I was thinking, it's your photography part of this need for representation of those suburbs, those people, maybe, or it's just an aesthetical.
I don't know. I think that the photography is I love visual. I love photography. I really love it, and I read it, and I study it, and I look at it, and I take pictures, um, and post them, like put them up. The thing is, though, writing is internal, right?
Okay.
I just sit here at the same chair where I'm talking to you, the same keyboard, the same screen, and just look inward, and then try to express in language what I find. And and books come out of that process. With photography is the opposite. It forces me out of the room into the world, forces me to look up at what's there. So it's the opposite of inner focus. It's and that's part of the appeal of photography is like it's there.
Yeah.
It's there, and how I choose to frame whatever it is I see is up to me. Like it is with any photographer. Like here's a building that I might find attractive, someone else might not, but I can walk around and try to find the place, a view of it that I like. So it's a I don't do it enough as I've gotten older because it's very physical. You know, it
Mm.
requires getting up, getting out, often driving around, or driving somewhere and walking around, and uh, really looking at the world, and also hoping you have good light. That's it's a little weather dependent.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
A little bit of of luck, also maybe.
Of luck, and of mood, but it really is the opposite of writing, and I
Yeah.
think that it helps me, the looking up and out at the world as it is with photography, uh, as opposed to the inner world of writing a novel and invention, like you know inventing the world.
Okay. 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 Now some things about what were formative things in your writing.
Mm,
When critics or essayists talk about you, sometimes they mention Chekhov, maybe
mhm,
Faulkner, and I was
mhm.
wondering because I couldn't find it. Which artists inspired you?
Which what?
Artists, writers, you know.
Gosh, hundreds. Hundreds. Uh, I read a lot. Um, Jean Rhys is a favorite of mine. She's a British writer. I love Chekhov. Joseph Conrad is a favorite of mine. That guy, not Strind or Steinbeck, is one I like. I mean, mostly I've read works in English, and then some translated from the Spanish. Juan Rulfo is
Mm-hmm.
a favorite of mine. Some of Octavio Paz. I'm just trying to think of Spanish writers that you know uh, are translated into English. Uh, there's an Italian writer named Massimo Carlotto. Massimo, I think it's Carlotto. But I read all the time. Ismail Kader, who is one of my favorites, who's from Albanian writer, and one of my all-time favorites. Of these are like living writers. Is Michael Ondaatje, the
Yeah.
Canadian from I think Sri Lanka maybe originally, uh, but lives in Canada. So uh, and then if I like a book, I love it. If I don't love it, I I start another book. I throw it away and start another one. And so it's hard to say. I think at different points in my life, different books have been important, and I also think it's there are some writers that I read when I was young that I was too young for, and I would go back and start rereading. There's Albert Camus. I mean, I love
Yeah.
he's a really it was a big influence on me when I think about influences. Books I read in my 20s, for example, that might have influenced me later. Faulkner never did, actually.
Oh.
Um, People think that Hemingway probably more, but I mean, I like Faulkner. It's just that I did not read him in a way that the world that he writes about is nothing like mine. It just he they're just set in the rural South in small towns.
Yeah. Um, you.
Flannery O'Connor is another one. Flannery O'Connor,
Oh, Flannery O'Connor. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Georgia. I like her a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could
She's.
go on and on, but I
Yeah. We,
mean,
we will be a lot of things. I.
yeah.
I won't. I won't protest. That those are good recommendations. A lot of them.
Mm.
Uh, you said that it is impossible to write a good book in a short period of time. It's clear that you take your time and you have this kind of routine. But are some challenges or difficulties and maybe obstacles of writing in this social media era, or that doesn't affect you because of
I
your
don't know.
age?
I think it's those difficulties. I see them as difficulties for people who are engaged with social media. And I know writers who are very active on Facebook and Twitter and the others that I probably don't even know. They become concerned about it, and I think it affects them. I really have a minimal relationship with it, Instagram, but it's just pictures. I just put up a picture almost every day because I love it, and then that's my relationship with it. So I don't. I mean, I'm sure publishers want to put pressure. My editor, it's like, well, you should do this. You should do online events. You should have a social media presence. And I just always think, well, my job is to write the books. I'm doing my job. Your job is to try to get people to read them, and I'm not that good at that. So I think that the social media is very beneficial to people who have an instinct for it, have a natural. I've seen that, but I'm not that kind of a person. So I don't concern myself with it too much.
Okay. Last but not least, you started your career very young,
Yeah.
and I wanted to ask you, which advices can you give to young writers, to starting writers, to people who want to write, maybe?
I'm 64, and so at this age in life, when people give advice, it's either usually do what I did because it worked for me, or don't do what I did because it didn't work for me. And I think that's unfair advice, right? Something that worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you or anybody else. So I think the best advice I can think of is just to write more and read more. Listen more carefully to the people and really observe, look at people and look at the world around you, and that's crucial to a writer. And those skills get, it is a skill set. It is something that can be developed, and it can be, that's not talked about enough. I try to write every day, but that doesn't work for everybody, but it does work for me. So I think the best advice is for young writers is to be willing to try different things until you learn what most benefits you. Some people need a nap before they write. They want to get up, they walk their dog, they have a lunch, they take a nap, they write. Someone wants to write in bed. Someone wants to write with a special pen. Someone, whatever the routine is, you have to learn. Some people want to write on the keyboard. Some want to write longhand, right? There's nothing that works for everybody. So the key, I think, the advice would be to be open-minded to yourself and the world and figure out what benefits you and your work the most, and not listen to some old man like me.
Right. I still think you have good things to share about it. To finish, do you want to talk a bit about in which projects are you working on? And I think your last book was Shifty's Voice, maybe.
Yeah.
You want to
that was, I don't even know what to make of it. I'm still trying to figure this out. During COVID, was home all the time, and I live in the country, so it was a little bit easier with COVID. You know, I wasn't in a city. You know, I had chickens, I had vegetables, I grew that, so I was able to stay safe and be away from people, but I had a lot more time, and so I wrote 2.5 books
Oh,
without meaning, maybe 3 books without meaning, and they became a series of these novels with The Killing Hills and then Shifty's Boys, and now a third one is coming out in June in the States called The Code of the Hills, and it was that's what I've been doing. I never set out to write it. I never thought that I would be someone who would write a series of novels about the same place, the same people, but I kind of liked it, you know, and I'm working on one now. I'm working on a new book of short stories, which I hope will be out not this year, but the following year. And I'm really, you know, trying to write a book that might be number 4 in this accidental series. I don't know what to make of it myself. It surprises me.
it was a bit of an accident.
What? Yeah, it wasn't deliberate. It just like, okay, I wrote that first one, and then we're still in quarantine. And it's like, well, I got all this time. I like those people. I like that. Well, I'll try to write another one. And then, so I don't know I don't know what the future will hold. But that's right now, this is what I seem to be doing. Unplanned. But, you know, I didn't plan to be a screenwriter. That I never wanted to be a screenwriter. I didn't even like movies. I couldn't afford to go to movies. Or a college teacher. You know, I barely got out of high school and college myself. So nothing was planned, including these books. I just committed to the act of writing every day and see how it goes.
Right, that.
It's not advice. This is not a good way to do it. I think it's not very efficient. It's, you know, it's messy, it's sloppy, it's a lot of more work, but it's how I've done things.
I don't know. It worked for you, and well, it you got your shop done, and you have put your writing before everything else. I think.
Yeah. Well, it's a sacrifice, you know, like there's sacrifice of money, sacrifice of home, sacrifice of family relationships, you know, when writing is more important than anything else. I'm serious, and I think that's true for any artist, you know, like it requires a certain focus and obsession, and that can interfere with other parts of your life, you know. For some people it's their health, you know, their health falls apart. Other people it's a marriage, or, you know, close relations, or money, you know. So I think I've been kind of lucky, but there has been sacrifice, you know, and loss as a result of this decision to live this way. But you know, when I die, I will have books in print, and that has always been, that idea was always important to me. You know, even if they're in the basement of a library, right?
Okay.
It would be, you know, literature is a big river. and I would be a little creek, a little tributary going into the river, and it would be a way of uh, being being heard after I'm in the ground, after I'm dead. I don't mean to be morbid, but it
No,
is
no,
kind
no.
of, it is how I've thought.
You had some things to say in your life, and you said them, um, and you.
I hope I've still got more to say, I hope I just don't turn out to be just one more old complainer, you know.
You don't seem so.
Yeah, I have more to say. I mean, I'm enjoying myself with this new book I'm working on. They just always seem silly, and then I have a blast with them. To me, the imaginary world is 10 times, 100 times better than the rest of the world, where you got to eat, breathe, sleep, mow the yard, put gas in your car, run errands, pay bills, work. I much prefer the world that's not real.
Okay, okay. I think many artists have that impression. Well, it's something else that you think it's important. You want to share?
No, I don't know. I just think, no, thank you for this opportunity, and I'd like to say thank you to the readers, and I just really appreciate that my books are available in your country. I guess it's through Salagen.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, a bit, a bit like that.
Something
Solution.
like that. And that's if it weren't for translators, there would be no world literature.
Yeah.
So my biggest thanks would be to the translators, people who are bilingual enough to do that work. That's hard work. So that's about it.
Yeah, and
You know.
you put your confidence in them because they
Yeah.
can change a lot what you're saying if they are not careful. Well, I thank you a lot. This is the
Well,
this is the first interview I'm doing in English.
mm,
uh, so I hope
I think you did a great job. You did a really good job.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I understood your English. Your questions were smart, and you were, yeah, you did you'll be able to do another one.
Right. I'm so glad to hear that. I was a bit
Yeah.
nervous because of that.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, when we have written this and or edited this,
Yeah.
obviously we will share it with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very much. Thank you.
thank you
All right.
again. Have
Bye
a
bye.
have a nice year.
Yeah. I'm gonna go have a glass of wine. Thank you.
Me too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.